Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon edition of Big Brother 22 All-Stars live feed spoilers. The veto ceremony, it has transpired. I wish we could have some, awe-inspiring, just shocking, astounding news, but we really don't, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Yep.
We'll get into more of the aftermath and all of that sort of stuff later on tonight in our evening update, but we have a few other things from this morning as well. But before we get into anything more here, if you guys do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and support us further by checking those links to the store and our Patreon. If you didn't know, we do live chats over there at the last Sunday of every month, which means one is rapidly approaching if you want to get in on that.
Okay, so I'm sure that it's not shocking to anyone out there that Cody decided not to use the veto.
Yeah, so pending a last-second twist coming in from the heavens, Janelle or Kaser are going to be evicted on Thursday night. It's probably going to be Janelle. We have to sort of enter I don't want to enter the acceptance phase of this yet, but I feel like I kind of have to, otherwise I'm going to set myself up for like a really, really delusional fall on Thursday.
Yeah, I really do think that it's going to be Janelle. I mean, there's been a tiny bit of talk of people that are big targets that are worried about once Janelle goes, that big target is gone and then they will be the big targets. And that is going to happen, but I don't think it's enough to actually save her. And one of the things that Kaser's actually doing really well, and I'm not really 100% sure if this is his strategy or not because he hasn't revealed it or not, but everyone he's talking to, he's kind of saying, like reiterating over and over again, you know, if he stays and Janelle leaves, he's going to be all alone. Mm-hmm. His only friend is gone. He's a free agent. He's going to be all alone. And I think, like, even with people still maybe feeling like, you know, I'm not going to work with Kaser later, it may just make him not a target because that's going to be rolling around in their heads. Oh, he's all alone. He can't really do anything. He doesn't have the votes. Nobody's working with him. We'll deal with him later. And I think it's a really smart strategy because it seems to be kind of working.
You know, Kaser, he's one step away from going full Eeyore. It has been a while since we've been able to bust this out.
Yep.
He needs to just be for the rest of the week. Well, looks like it's gonna be another bad day for Kaser. I'm alone. No one loves me. Kaser, this is the thing with Janelle. This is why Janelle can never go full Eeyore because no one will ever buy it. She is Janelle. She is an enormous threat. America loves her to the point where they're willing to shout outside the CVS lot in favor of her.
And it's interesting, too, because Kevin has been trying to claim to Danny that Kaser is more social than Janelle, which I think is true. And I think that Kevin has a good read on this. And it's not that Janelle is not social. It's that no one's allowing her to be social. So they're not really there's no doors open for Janelle to really work any kind of social magic with anybody. But what Kaser is doing, he is having those conversations. And while some people are kind of now starting to look at him as a little bit less of a threat because like, yeah, he is going to be alone. And yeah, okay, maybe he's not really that much of a problem. Some people are having the door a little bit more open to him, like Tyler. They've had a couple of conversations. He's not all on board, but the door's not closed.
It's going to be fascinating to see what happens with Kaser in the game moving forward because I think a lot of people are talking like he is like de facto the next person up on the block and out the door after all of this is over. But we have seen this on Big Brother many times. We have read this book of, it is the last person from a duo. Are they really that threatening by themselves? Can they really do that much? Because then if you are an HOH, like let's say for example Ian is the next HOH and you know Ian's working with some people within that big blob alliance, but not everyone. Is getting rid of Kaser gonna be a satisfying move for someone like him?
Yeah, and he's a winner, so getting rid of Kaser is not really that big on the resume for him. Or someone like Memphis, he doesn't really have any reason to deal with Kaser. I mean, Kaser really is just on his own, and I think if Kaser keeps playing that card, then people will just start to be like, he's alone. he's not a threat. He's not going to be able to do anything. He has no numbers. Is this really an awesome move for me?
Buy into the full Eeyore, guys. Keep Kaser around for a little while. Just give us a little bit of an underdog here. Someone to sort of root for. I think we need it.
So we also have this really weird talk that happened between David and Kaser as well in the pantry, in storage, and it was really weird. So Kaser was playing this part of the game where it was like, oh, after this I'm going to be all alone and no one's going to be able to work with me, but I have a lot of loyalty to you. What do you think about that? David just didn't say anything. He just stood there. And he's like, and then you could see, Kaser's like, okay, I'll shift into something else. Hey, so because we have, a pretty good relationship, do you think like maybe anybody you're working with might want to consider working with me? And then David just, again, didn't say anything. It was like the longest, weirdest silences ever. And I mean, eventually David got around to kind of saying, let's talk about it later. You're moving too many pieces ahead, that kind of feeling. But the awkward silence was so strange. And I wonder if it's because he feels like he does pretty well talking to the people that he's comfortable with in his alliance because he's working with them. Anytime it's someone that isn't, like that conversation he had with Davon a little while ago when he was on the block, that went really weird too. He doesn't seem to deal that well with the confrontation of, hey, I have your back, do you have mine? He just like shuts down.
You want to see my impression of David?
All right.
That is my impression of David during a lot of these conversations. Okay, this is what I like about the idea of David and Kaser having conversations. Neither one of them are actually very good at Big Brother. And I love Kaser. I think this is clear at this point. But this is a guy who has been pre-jury a couple of times. He's not looking great when it comes to his prospects this time either. He doesn't really know how to apply everything. And David, I had such high hopes for because he seemed so perceptive last season. And I still think he's perceptive at times, but he just doesn't know how to act on anything. He's so timid in a lot of ways when it comes to wanting to play this game or play this game hard.
Yeah, that's really what it is. He's really perceptive, but he feels like a guy who maybe is this perceptive because he hangs back and he watches everybody and he sees everything that's kind of going on. So he's pulling in the information, but when it's time to deal with that information, he's unable to do it because, his conversation with Davon when he was on the block really didn't go very well. He could have easily smoothed that over and made her feel a little more secure, and he just didn't. And then everything that was going on with Kaser, like he just didn't want to say anything that could possibly be wrong. So instead of even just excusing himself and leaving, he just didn't say anything. It was really, really odd.
Let's shift now to the Janelle side of things, because it seems like Janelle's narrative and because she doesn't really have a lot of moves, right? Because there are people who explicitly just want her gone, but it seems like something she has at least tried to push with some people is, if I go, then that's 3 women that are gone in succession, and while we know that every single guy is not working together, it's still... If there's only a situation where there are a couple of women left, it's kind of an easy target then to just get rid of the remaining women. And Bailey, and Janelle, they've been close, and Bailey has sort of picked up on some of this. She knows Janelle is probably leaving, and she's not going to make a big fuss about it or cause any problems or hurt her own game, really. But she talked with Christmas earlier, Christmas and her 9-star babies, and just made it clear kind of subtly during that, I'm fine getting rid of Janelle, but it is another woman that is leaving, and that could be something to be concerned about. So Bailey's sort of subtly pushing that narrative. I hope that it doesn't come back, because we know how people tend to be in this house. They get with that other alliance people, and they're like, oh, did you know that Bailey wants to keep Janelle in the game?
Yeah, and it's not really about that. And I think the other women, even though they are part of this bigger alliance, they have to be aware that watching a woman go after another woman ain't a great look for what's going on for their own game. At some point, they do have to wonder, is this what's going on? And maybe they're not clued into it.
It's some of these players are just kind of so dismissive about certain ideas in the first place. Like, you brought up the thing with Kevin earlier and trying to talk about Kaser as a social threat, and Danny was just kind of outright dismissive of the idea. And Janelle's obviously a threat in a lot of ways, but I think the point Kevin was probably trying to make here is that Kaser can at least go under the radar. And, Kevin also doesn't like Kaser, but I think he also was just thinking, Janelle, she's always gonna be there. There's no way Janelle is ever gonna hide. And so that kind of is the danger of it. But I think people like Danny, like Nicole, they're not really interested in hearing that right now.
Yeah, and the other thing about Kaser is that he sort of has that dad effect on people, and it does work, and it is part of a social strategy that will continue to work with the house. He's sort of the older guy there, the dad with everyone else that's there, and that can be comforting in a lot of ways when people are kind of spiraling out of control. If he's there on his own and he's no longer a threat because he's not part of a duo and he's played his sad sack me, I'm all by myself, and everybody bought into it, he could then end up being that person that people just come to lean on when they're having a hard time, and that will continue to bring him further. But people are very dismissive of it.
Here is my biggest fear for Janelle, because you mentioned people spiraling. We know that this is seemingly the end of the safety suite.
Yeah.
We know that Big Brother is probably going to throw some other nonsense in there.
That's right.
We also know that there is nothing that scares certain people more than the idea of America having an influence. And I think it's going to be harder and harder for Janelle to campaign because these people are going to get more and more paranoid, especially with the person yelling.
Yeah, I think that yeller really messed things up for Janelle even more because they already knew, I mean, they've all played this game. They all know that there are usually twists that come in that America gets a vote on and they give it to the most popular house guest. Now it's been confirmed by an outside person that Janelle is, yes, the most popular house guest, and that if a power comes in, it is going to probably go to her. That has not helped her game at all. I think that was, as fun as it is to have the yellers out there, I think it really is just confirmed to everybody that Janelle really has to go, because if she doesn't, and the safety suite, this is the last week of it, so I don't think they're going to bring in a second twist in the same week. But next week is, free game. Maybe you can bring in a new twist, and if Janelle's there, she's probably going to get it. So, well done, Yeller.
This would be sort of my fear, is that with it being All-Stars, they're probably going to do something very big. And I know a lot of us have conflicting opinions about the coup d'etat or things that are that powerful that can upend an entire season. But regardless of how we feel about them, if we're in the game, we have to be worried about something that big because of the nature of the season and the perception that, if Big Brother loses Janelle, there go the ratings, there go the attention, everything. I love Janelle. I'm going to say, though, I understand why people are scared to death by her in the game.
I absolutely understand why she's the target to go. There's no question about it. She is very well liked. She is a big threat. She's not working with the main side of the house. It completely makes sense. It sucks, but it completely makes sense.
Let us now, as we proceed into the next few days, all put on our devil horns and hope that the big alliance gets into a couple of fights, and that moving forward, Kaser finds a way to stay. The game blows wide open.
Also, if we're hoping for things, somebody mentioned in the comments that it would be really dope if they had that little baby star plushie in the CBS store. I'm going to put out that maybe if they're listening, because I'm sure CBS has nothing better to do to watch us, put that plushie in the store. I will totally buy it.
And with that, we will wrap We're going to have like 8 of these things now.
That's right.
We're going to have the Christmas collection.
That's right.
So we're also going to put a poll.
They're so cute.
They are pretty cute. We'll have a poll on the YouTube later about what you guys want to see happen in terms of the eviction. So stay tuned for that. But What do you guys want to see happen over the next few days? Comment-wise, give us twist ideas, all that good stuff in the comments. And if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe, support us further. Check those links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.